It's hard to be human again. Well, I've been punched and beaten, though it never shows. I'm going up to Sheffield. I don't know when I'm coming home. You took me in the corner, and I
The Mekons are an art collective slash punk band formed in Leeds in 1976 and are still going. When they started, they were part of a melting pot of musicians at Leeds, which also produced the Gang of Four and Delta 5. I've heard of Gang of Four, I've not heard of Delta 5. And they started out with the participation ethos in that the audience could get up on stage and join in with the band, and they were swapping instruments around and all sorts of stuff. They did settle down, and by the 80s, they were more stabilised and they started branching out into other musical styles as well. They have released, as far as I could count, an eye-watering 25 albums so far. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the fourth album released by the Mekons, and it's my first encounter with them. I have heard of them, but I don't think I've heard any of their music before. Or if I have, I've not been aware of it, or presumably I was aware at the time I was listening to some music. You know what I mean? I've not kind of linked together any memories of them. And I would describe this as being kind of cowpunk in that it's a blend of punk aesthetic with some country stuff thrown in as well. Although punk kind of can mean quite a lot of different things, and so can country. So apparently, this came about as the main guy was listening to a reasonable amount of country music, and he said basically at some point the three chords of punk blended in with the three chords of country, so you couldn't really tell the difference. Mostly it's all kind of lo-fi and raw. Things aren't necessarily in tune, especially guitars and voice. Things are quite loose. Things are recorded in a way that you would say is quite, use the positive word raw rather than the negative words that could be just, badly produced. I'm not sure it's badly produced. It sounds like it's been recorded quite quickly, and that might well be the case. And the kind of the quality of the recording and the quality of the musicianship actually varies quite a bit through the album. And there might have been several people playing things at different points, I would say. So I'm going to make a comparison here. I do kind of make a thing of trying to avoid comparisons. Actually, I ended up doing it quite a bit. But I'm going to reference the Pogues. Go away, stupid moth. So because his voice reminds me of what's his name, Sean McGowan of the Pogues, and the musical style a bit as well. Mostly because it's got violins in it, but also I think it's because it's kind of a blend between country and something. And sorry, between punk and something. And in this case, it's meant to be blend between punk and country. The Pogues is a blend between punk and folk or Irish folk. But actually, country and has its roots in stuff like Irish folk, and there are some similarities, certainly musically, and the use of violins in there as well. Weirdly, this is apparently a kind of concept album about life during wartime. And I will say the songwriting, although the songs are fairly simple songs, they're not necessarily cheesy, or they're certainly not cliched, and I found them quite effective. Some quite unusual songs in here, and some of the things that they're expressing. There's a song about it being trouble down south, and from a very kind of British perspective, talking about this. There's one that I'm hoping to put as the clip that I play at the end. Psycho Cupid is really interesting. It's got a spoken vocal overlaid over it, which is the music in the back, great, to be honest. But the song is interesting. Well, excuse me. So, despite the fact that there are lots of things in here that I don't normally go for in terms of the kind of the lo-fi and uh, stuff where obviously skill hasn't been their emphasis in playing here. It does have a charm to it, and I kind of enjoyed it. Um, Certainly, mostly it's got an earnestness to it, raw, but it's got a character to it, and I think Maybe that's the thing that saves the grace for me for something like this. The saving grace is that if there's something else that I can latch onto, and here it was kind of weird character of it that has got something to say and some stories to bring out. So I wouldn't say it was sufficiently good that I would particularly seek it out again, but I did find the second time I was listening through, I recognised some songs, I remembered them from the first listen. That's often a good sign. So moderately in favour, but just not hugely strongly. Um, but if you're the kind of person who likes stuff that is a bit quirky and um, like stuff that has this kind of lo-fi rawness to it. And when I say raw, I don't mean it's kind of heavily overdriven. I mean that it's just kind of rough around the edges. If you like that kind of thing, you might really like this. It's definitely kind of got that alternative feel to it. So you might love it. Anyway, that's what I think. And some speculation, and I'd love to know what you actually do think. So please do leave me a comment and tell me. And that's it from me for now.
My dad burnt the toast this morning. I came into the kitchen and saw the cup of tea fall from his trembling hands. Then he was crying among the fragments, piecing nothing together. He said I was ungrateful. I had a bad night last night. It was hard to sleep. The air felt heavy. I was warm and dry for the first time in a long while. It made me think back.